Hi everybody, my name is Hannah and this is Pepper and Pine, and we're just preparing for another form drawing lesson. We are working through lesson number 8 and we are using this book by Angela Lord called Creative Form Drawing. It has some beautiful lessons and we have already worked on the straight and curves, and now we are working through the flowing lines. Now before we started this lesson, my children went ahead and picked out, actually my daughter picked out the colors that we're going to use today. So she picked out 6 colors in these beautiful jewel tones. I recommend using stick crayons or block crayons or a really thick color pencil, but avoid using thin color pencils and pens. We're also using main lesson books, and these are 12 inches by 9 inches. So if you want to work along with us, I recommend grabbing a large piece of paper, and we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay, so for today's pre-lesson activities, I went ahead and had the children do flowy lines in 3-dimensional space. So we have a swing in the room. It's actually not a swing, it's a piece of workout equipment. But the point is the children can swing back and forth on it. So I told them to, since they were playing anyway, to go ahead and do this form, this wavy form, while they were swinging. I don't know if they actually were able to accomplish that because it's a little bit challenging. Yeah, I don't know how. Actually, my son is asking how. But I really just wanted them to get prepared for the lesson, and we are skipping other pre-lesson activities, but I want to mention them for you in case you want to do them. This would work really well with, say, a tray of what is that stuff called? Shaving cream. Keep forgetting. You could put a tray of shaving cream out, and then the children could trace these different forms in that, or you could use a sandbox. Shaving cream is fun. I know, we need to try that. Or even, you know, you could dust flour onto a tray and you could do those as well.
Yeah, let's do both.
Yeah, okay. So my daughter would like to try dusting the flour on the tray. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that since she seems really interested in that. I'm going to show you really quickly how we're going to do that. All right, I went and got 2 trays. May I have this, please? And some flour. I'm just going to dust the flour using a little strainer. Yeah, go ahead. You guys do it. All right, so I'll go ahead and do the first form for you, and then you can come in right under it and see if you can do that. Lovely. And then we can go ahead and do that again. I'll do one more for you, and then you can go ahead and do it a few times underneath. I'm going to do 2 things for you. This is the one that we did last time, if you remember. They look like upside down U's or like rolling hills.
Mountains are M's.
And we're going to modify this one a little bit. And we are going to do one with kind of loopy spirals. So look at this. Do you think you can try that?
Try.
You're doing it. Good job. Yeah, I thought that would be more challenging for you, but you're doing great with it. It's loopy. I'm calling them loopy spirals. I don't even know what you would call them, but we're gonna, as if you're doing the upside down U. Kind of looks like a mountain, kind of like a hill. You can, instead of coming down, you're gonna loop it. And then we're going to make another wide hill, and then we're going to loop it. And again, and again. Yes, exactly. Okay, so let's put this aside and pull out our main lesson book. Okay, so let me hand out I think this is your main lesson book, and this one is your brother's, and this one is mine. So let's go ahead and add a border.
I want this color.
And we're going to do a thin border, so we're just going to use the side of the crayon. We're using our block crayons. Did you want to do the green?
The thin side.
The thin side. Did you want, does everybody want this green now? I didn't know that. Here you go. I didn't know. I would have used a different color. We also want to turn our books sideways. There's actually flour on the desk now. Let's go ahead and turn our books sideways. And what color are we starting out with?
Brown, I think.
Brown. We're doing brown.
Yeah, brown. I mean, I'm just doing brown, but
I'm copying you. I'll do your colors. All right, so let's go ahead and start with a couple of the forms that we did last time. But for this lesson, we're just going to do them once since this is review for us. So we're going to start with the wavy line that looks like waves. We're going to do that one in after a couple of forms. So start on the left side, and we're just going to do these wide curves. It feels like you're on the ocean, and the waves are just kind of rocking you back and forth. And then we can go ahead and switch to a blue.
I'm gonna do
and
light blue.
Then we're going to do we are going to try this other form that we actually didn't do in our last lesson, but I'm going to show it to you now anyway. Two forms. We are going to make this a tighter,
Like you showed me.
a tighter wave. Close. That would be in two more forms. This one right here. This would be more of the upside down U's, more of like the hills. That's okay. Let's go ahead and try this one again. Let's go ahead and, you want to use the same color or a different color? What are you switching to?
Blue.
The other blue. All right, so let's go ahead and try this again. We're going to try to make tighter waves. And I think these are a little bit harder to make these tighter waves. All right, so I see where you're having a struggle. I'm going to do a line for you here so that you can copy. Is that okay? I think, yeah, that's probably a better idea to use the... So okay, let me trace it for you. Let me do it for you, and then you're going to trace over it. So we're going to be doing these tighter...
You go under.
Yeah, so go ahead and try these ones first. So it's a little bit more like a tight wave. So, and then I need you to move your hand or your body, because you're starting out with your hand on this side, and then you're not moving your body, you're just moving, there you go, you're just moving your hand, and that's going to be a problem and gain a nice, good form. I'm gonna have you keep practicing this one by going over it, or rather going under it a couple of times. Can you do that? Go ahead and do a border on this side. And I'm going to go over what I already did so I can show you. The first color will be brown, and we're going to do this smooth wave.
On the brown?
We're going back to the beginning just so that she has a little more practice. Well, this is all part of it. I was just trying to include some of these more complicated ones, which I anticipated them being a little bit more complicated, but since you're able to do the loopy spiral one, I thought you could probably do these ones. That's okay. We'll sleep on it. We'll try it again next time. Let's go ahead and do the mountains or the hills, because at least you knew how to do that one. So those are going to be like these rounded, connected hills that just go completely across the page. Great. So why don't we grab another color, and we're gonna work on... Okay, go ahead, finish that one, and then I'm gonna take a blue after this. All right, so let's start on that first spiral that we did in the flower. Oh, you want to do maroon? Okay. So I'm going to do it first, if you don't mind. If you could follow me first. It's similar to this, only instead of it coming down to a rest right here, we're going to curve it into a little loop. All right, so we're going to do a loop, and then it's going to keep going in another loop. It'll keep going in another loop all the way across the page. Lovely. Let's try that again. I like how you made yours tight, and I made mine quite broad. Would you like to try making it broad, or would you like to try making it tight?
Broad.
Okay, and I will do what you did, and that was to make a tight one.
There.
Excellent. All right, let's turn.
I think I have one more thing.
You do. Why don't you practice one more? Go ahead and keep it in landscape. I think we need more space for these loopy spirals. All right, so we're switching places and my 6-year-old is off to the right side and now my 11-year-old has joined me right here. You can come a little bit closer. So the first thing we are going to do for this one, you can take any color you would like, and we are going to work on those same loopy spirals. So let's go ahead on the left side and we are going to do a tight set first. Very nice. Okay, now you want to do them wide? To do them wider, you just need to make your hills wider and your loops are about the same. So for this next one, we want to elongate the size of our loop. So for this one, we're going to do the same curvy top part, but we're going to dip really low. And then dip really low again. You come up and around and then dip low. All the way across the page. This next one, we're going to add an alteration to this one. Now, in general, we wouldn't go through these this quickly, but I want to go ahead and show you. This is the first time we're going to do a pattern within a form that's continuous. So it's going to be a challenge. So if you don't get it on the first time, that's okay. So we're going to do a mountain like the very first one that we did, but we're going to hold our crayon in place and we're going to come back up, and instead of doing a normal second mountain, we're going to come down with a long loop. Okay, then we're going to do that again where you rest and then you come back again for a long loopy tail at the bottom. Come back up. Then on the next one, all the way down and back up. All right, so that, yes, okay.
Great.
Well, it is a little bit more challenging. Let me
Maybe
just.
the first one was the same because I don't have
Okay, you didn't have a lot of space. Let's try flipping our page over. I said this was going to be the last page, but we were only able to get 4 forms on here. So we're going to flip the page over. We are going to keep our page in landscape. We are going to go up and down like that nice round hill. When we go up for the second hill, we are going to dip down low into a loop. When we come back up, we're going to rest the way we do a hill. Then when we do that second hill, we're going to dip down low into a loop. Now, if you think you can do this, go ahead and do it for the rest of the page. You did really great. You're able to do this one, then you did your loop, then you did another loop, then you went down, then you did a loop, 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 loop. So why don't we try this one more time? Hold on, sweetheart. Let's go really slowly so that you can watch every step. So we're going to call this a hill. Go ahead and do one hill and stop at the bottom. Now we're going to come up for another hill. But instead of stopping at the bottom, let's go down into a loop. Good. And let's come back up into a hill and stop at the bottom. Okay, now let's go back up. And then for this next one, we're going to go all the way down into a loop. Nice. Then we're going to come back up into a hill. Good. Come back up again. Yep. Round it out into a hill.
Like this.
Yep. Then down again into a loop. Back up into a hill, then up again, down into a loop, and then down for a hill, come back up, down into a loop, back into a hill, come back. Good. Okay. Very good. So you didn't see that because she was off to the right of me, but you can see that she kind of wavered in a few spots, and that's when I was just instructing her to come back up into a hill. I called these the hills and these the loops so that she could have a little bit more understanding of the pattern that we were making. All right, so we are going to do 2 more forms, and I think at this point, I just want to say that for my 6-year-old, for you, sweetheart, I'm just going to have you do loops. And for my 11-year-old, I'm going to... Yeah, go ahead and do wide loops and tight loops. And for my son, I'm going to show him the next form. We are going to do 2 hills. It might be easier for you to use a stick. I was just using the block because she had the stick. You'll be able to see where you're going a little bit easier with this. That certainly is. So instead of going on to
put colors inside.
Okay. So 2 hills here. Then on the third one, we're going to come down into a loop. Then we're going to do 2 more hills. And then come down into a loop. And then 2 more hills. And then down into a loop. And we're going to continue across the page.
There.
Very lovely. So you're done. I'm going to do one more form with your brother, and then that will be it for now. We're going to do the same one again. So you can start closer to the bottom of the page. For me, this will be my last form. We're going to do 2 loops, and for the third one, we're going to come down. Did I say 2 loops? I apologize. 2 hills, then a loop, and then another 2 hills. The third one is a loop. 2 more hills, and a loop, and just keep going across the page. All right. I would consider this a lot more challenging. Even my son, who is 11, needed a little bit of practice with this. And my daughter, who is 6, you can see that the 2-step form, the form in which you have 2 different forms within one line, that was too challenging for her. So moving forward, we will have to modify some of the lessons so that it suits her developmental abilities. And for my son, we can continue with some of the more complicated forms if he wishes. My reflections on this lesson are that my children left or experienced some frustration. So I can tell that my son is leaving this lesson with some frustration, and my daughter experienced quite a bit of frustration on this page, I believe, right here at the very beginning, and wanted to quit the assignment because we were doing some of these forms that we had done previously and not getting to the things that she wanted to do, which I expected to be a little bit more complicated, and I thought they would need more time. But seeing that she experienced them really well with the flower, I thought, well, we could do these today. But clearly just doing the single loop was as much as what she could do. Okay, so that concludes today's lesson. If you want to see the previous lessons, they are all linked on the screen and down in the description box below. And if you want to see what we're up to on a daily basis, you can find us on Instagram at Pepper and Pine.